Hey, what's up, guys? So, as you guys know, I used to work in child support for 5 years. And in that time, I've read thousands of divorce orders, spoke with many, many different couples, by which I mean ex couples, who are going through a divorce, you know, genetic testing and all that stuff. We would handle the child support, but, we'd have to work with a lot of divorce orders and things like that. So I've read a lot of divorce orders, and I don't work there anymore, but after working for a place for so long, I think I've kind of developed a kind of habit where I follow this forum on Reddit, and it's just about divorce, and it's just people in different cases going through divorces. And I like to kind of be like, I wonder how this divorce is going to turn out, or what's going to happen here. Because that's sort of what I did at my prior job. But I just found some interesting threads that I thought were pretty cool and kind of highlight how crappy marriage can be for some people. So let's go ahead and read those and see what I stumbled upon. Today, my wife finally admitted that she doesn't want to work on the relationship anymore. Started planning a divorce. I'm heartbroken. I'm open to any advice. We have two boys, aged 10 and 13. We've been arguing a lot. This year has been the worst. Haven't had a decent sex life for 20 plus years. I gave her an ultimatum a couple months ago because I couldn't take the lack of intimacy. But I also couldn't take her terrible communication. I'm sure mine isn't great either. But when there's a problem, I want to solve it. I face it head on and have direct conversations. She tries to avoid everything. When conversations get tough for her, because there is any sort of accountability, she interrupts me, barely lets me speak, then she disassociates, lashes out, and walks away. She has an identical twin sister whose husband has been my best friend for 6 years. They cut me out and won't let me see their kids either because they're in her corner. Even while we were trying to fix things. I was trying to fix things. I am open to any advice. We live in a big, beautiful home, and right now I'm sleeping in my office on a cot. I'm the primary provider, and she's all talking about her half. I had so many dreams of things we would do with our kids, places we would take them. She's thrown everything away that I worked so hard for. She can't see what she's doing to me, or she can, and she just doesn't care. I see a lot of threads like this, and I remember back when I worked at my old job at child support. I would encounter a lot of people dealing with this problem, And I mean, just I haven't had a decent sex life for 20 plus years. I know from what I read that a lot of married guys deal with that. And it's just like, I think there's an entire industry built on trying to help people solve that problem. But it just doesn't seem like that problem really gets solved, and it just always leads to divorce. It just kind of leads me to think that marriage, at least in our society here in the US, is kind of becoming antiquated. And I don't mean to say antiquated as in marriage is bad, because I believe it is good. I just don't think that our culture really supports it so much anymore, at least not traditionally. And it's just more of a problem than it's worth. The juice really isn't worth the squeeze. There was a comment in here that I thought was pretty interesting. Your dreams are not gone. They will just be different. When a woman decides divorce, it's over. She has thought about this for months or even years. Do not move out of the marital home. Why is she not sleeping on the cot? Do not beg, plead, or make manipulative statements such as, "You're ruining our dreams." This is a business now, so keep emotions out of it. Get your personal life ready for this change. Most of us lose sight of hobbies, gym, friends, etc. after marriage. Eat good, sleep, go to the gym, and focus on the kids. Sorry to break it to you, but long-term marriages are a thing of the past. 90% of people are divorced or in a shitty marriage. Women file for up to 85% of all divorces. Hypergamy is always at play, and human biology gets tired of the same thing every day. Social media is a lie. People post these happy pictures but are a wreck. I had tons of people reach out after my divorce. Couples I thought were happy were on the brink of divorce. I think the part about it being, a business now is very important. I guess I used to say, when people got married, they got married for love, but I would notice when they got divorced, it was all business. And I would notice sometimes when I was talking to people, like, you can still tell when one or the other person was still in love. And because I'd meet with them separately, and I can totally tell who was like completely happy to be out of there and who was just like heartbroken. And the heartbroken person was always so easy to manipulate, we had these people signing some pretty important legal documents that would then become judgments. And it's stuff you'd really want to think about, maybe even talk to your lawyer about. And I remember once, some woman was in there and she was like, oh, well, I'll just call him up and tell him to come in and sign it. And I watched her call that man up and tell him to do that. And that's what he did, And I was like, wow, like this guy is just hoping that like this will fix things, but he's only screwing himself into a deeper hole. There's also another thread that I thought was interesting. Let's see. Divorce feels unavoidable at this point. Background, mid-30s, married 10 plus years, 2 kids. The last time my wife said, I love you, was before the birth of our second child. His 4th birthday is coming up soon, and it's a painful reminder of the current state of my marriage. I brought this up to my wife last night, explaining that I didn't believe the average person would continue trying to fix their marriage if it had been 4 plus years since his wife last said she loved him. Her response was pretty typical. We're not in a loving relationship, and I'm not going to lie to make you feel better. Fair enough, and she's not wrong. Our marriage went off the rails when we had kids. My wife refuses to balance motherhood with anything else, including being a wife. And she is very open about the fact that she doesn't have the time or energy to make our marriage a focus. I've been a frequent poster over at the Dead Bedroom sub for years. Unlike many over there, our issues are bigger than just sex, but sex plays a role. Selfish or not, it's been over a decade since my wife last gave me a blowjob. On the rare occasions we do have sex, it's terrible. At the conclusion of our conversation last night, I asked my wife if I should be consulting a marriage counselor or a divorce attorney. Her response, your choice. I feel like I'm just prolonging the inevitable at this point. Is there any hope when your wife has completely punched out like this? That was a pretty tough read. Especially the part about the blowjob. The non-existent blowjobs. And, this is pretty typical right here. I mean, this is what we see a lot of. And, on a long enough timeline, I think things just start to go south after a while. And, I know there's a kind of bias here, which is reading this stuff, but it seems to be pretty prevalent, I think back to like my childhood friends. A lot of the folks I grew up with, their parents ended up getting a divorce. Mine included, So you see that kind of stuff and you're like, man, I don't know if it's worth it, I would get married. I mean, if the math made sense. I don't want to, but like what I noticed with the divorces was that it just was kind of all about the money. So I just usually tell myself, like, maybe if the other person has like a decent job and works, and I guess we both kind of split things evenly, then I mean, I wouldn't be super opposed to it. But it all really depends, you know. And there's challenges with that because someone's got to watch the kids and stuff. Now, I think I'd make a great stay-at-home dad. I'm just putting that out there. Oh my God, it'd be amazing. But there's probably a pretty low chance of that happening. Um, anyways, I read stuff like that and I'm like, man, that's pretty sad, you know? And it kind of just makes me reflect on what marriage is in this day and age and what it really means and if it's worth it, you know? And maybe if there's another way of going about this. I saw I think it was a news article. I think Tom Brady's wife, she was over there in Costa Rica with her jiu-jitsu instructor and she got the kids with them, you know, they got 2 kids. And I just kind of put myself in Tom Brady's shoes and it's like, man, you know, the family's broken up. Mom's over there with the kids in Costa Rica with the new guy. And this is something that happens pretty typically. I mean, it just is what it is. I don't really know if there's, you know, a prevention measure for this. I don't even know. Like, there's the guy in there. This guy hasn't got a blowjob in a decade, and when he has sex, it's terrible. And then there's the other guy who hasn't had a good sex life in 20 years. And it's like, it's hard not to be a little, you know, how shall we say, realpolitik about this. You know, what do you do if you're that guy? I mean, do you just start cheating on your wife and not saying anything? Maybe that'll help relieve some of the pressure of the marriage. I don't know. But I think all conventional wisdom would say don't do that. But if you're staring down the barrel of a divorce and you're like, damn, I'm in it deep now, and it just ain't working and everything I do pushes her away, I think once you're in the position of having to negotiate sex, it's kind of it's just kind of, it ain't looking good at that point, you know, because then it doesn't feel like genuine attraction. It's not very passion filled. And then at that point, I mean, it's gone, and it's going head first into a brick wall, you know. So, anyways, I just thought that's a pretty interesting sub. My passion for reading about divorces will probably continue into the future as a kind of, you know, nostalgia of my prior experiences with my job. And I hope to not have to go through that, you know. I'd like to find someone, but damn, the stuff I'm reading in this, it doesn't sound good. Anyways, if you guys made it here, thank you. Please let me know what you guys think in the comments. Is the institution of marriage becoming antiquated in our society? Will things change? Or has what we once had been lost forever? Please let me know. Thank you. We'll see you next time.